What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Zach and I make videos about photography, camera gear, amateur videography, and vlogs. In today's video, we are talking about small mirrorless APS-C cameras and why I think this might be the next camera that you should purchase. I'm not only giving you 5 reasons why I think it's a great purchase, I'm also giving you 5 things to consider that might actually be deal breakers. Let's jump right into it. Before we get to the list, let's actually talk about what an APS-C camera is. So APS-C, or crop, is a smaller body camera typically that has a smaller sensor on it. Because of that, there are a few advantages and drawbacks to that form factor. Here is my Nikon Z50, and as you can see, it is a very small body that's nice, light, and compact. That is indicative of a lot of APS-C or crop sensor cameras. Now let's get into my list of the 5 reasons I think you should maybe buy an APS-C camera in 2021. All right, first up on the list is going to be maybe the most obvious thing, and that is going to be the size of APS-C cameras. So the Nikon Z50, the Canon EOS M, all of the Sony a6000 series are very small and compact systems. Not only is the camera body smaller, the actual dedicated lenses that they make for APS-C sensors tend to be a lot smaller than their full-frame counterparts. Smaller, lighter means more convenient for you, which is why this camera, the Nikon Z50, leaves the house with me a lot more than my full-frame Nikon Z6 II that I'm shooting this video with. Reason number 2, I think you should maybe look at APS-C as your next camera in 2021, is the price. So APS-C smaller sensor cameras tend to also come with a much smaller price tag than their full-frame counterparts. So the Nikon Z50, when this came out, I believe I got this for $899 with the lens. With the lens, so that's everything you need to go out and start shooting, not only photos but videos as well, $900. That being said, the equivalent entry-level full-frame camera from Nikon, the Z5, well, until recently, it was like $1,300 or $1,400. Right now, you can get it for $999 without a lens. But once you add that lens in there, you're really upwards of almost $1,500. The same holds true for both Canon and Sony. The entry price on APS-C has for a long time been a lot lower than full frame, and I have a feeling it'll continue to be that way for the foreseeable future. So next up on the list is going to be the image quality. APS-C sensors have improved drastically over the last 5 years. So my Nikon Z50 here has a 21 megapixel BSI sensor that allows you to get better dynamic range as well as lower noise in the shadows, and also better performance in low light situations that you used to only be able to get with full frame cameras. Am I going to say it's as good as a full frame camera? I'm not, because that's just not the truth. However, it has improved a lot. To take it back, I had a Nikon D3300 as well as a Nikon D7100. Those were incredibly fun crop sensor cameras to shoot. I did notice though, once I got this thing, I barely used the 7100 when I still had it, because the noise in low light situations was it was very distracting and really took away from the image quality. With the newer Z50 or also the newer cameras from Sony and Canon, you get a lot less of that noise and a better overall picture. Reason number 4 is going to be the actual speed of these cameras, especially when you compare it dollar to dollar what you get from full frame offerings. So the Nikon Z50 shoots upwards of like 10 frames per second. You had a similar spec on the EOS M50, and I know the Sony cameras are blazing fast and all under that $1,000 price point. An equivalent full frame camera, the Canon EOS RP, has a max frames per second of like 4. The Nikon Z5 is right around that, 4 to 5. And even the Nikon Z6 and Z6 II, unless you're shooting in high extended mode, like those are only like 6 to 7 frames per second. The Z50, it shoots at 10, which is awesome. It's fast and it's a lot less money. So my 5th reason for why you might buy an APS-C camera in 2021 is actually the crop factor. Now, the crop factor could actually be, well, a plus or a minus depending on how you look at it. Since it is cropped, you have to apply a little bit of simple multiplication to figure out what the actual focal range of your lens is. Let's use 200. Let's say we have a 70 to 200 on our camera. Well, since the 70-200 is actually based on a full frame sensor, The actual length of the lens on a crop sensor camera is different. We take that focal length and we times it by, well, in the case of Nikon, we times it by 1.5, which actually gives us the full frame equivalent of a 300 millimeter lens. Think about this. You're at your kid's soccer game and you want to get close-up shots even though you're in the bleachers. Well, if you have a 200 millimeter lens, you put it on a crop sensor body, you're going to get 300 millimeters of zoom, and if you use the cameras I've been talking about, upwards of 10 frames per second to do an awesome job capturing all of that action. So that covers all of the potential reasons why I think you should buy an APS-C size camera in 2021. Now let's talk about a few of the things that might actually be deal breakers. And I have a list of 5 for you. So number 1 is going to be, well, smaller sensor equals less light. We touched on this a little bit earlier. The fact of the matter is, smaller sensor, less light. Less light means it's gonna have to, have a higher ISO when you're in low light situations. Smaller sensor also equals less shallow depth of field if you're into taking portraits or something like that. Potential deal breaker number 2, a lot of these APS-C cameras that I'm talking about actually only have a single card slot. I know a lot of people that really just swear by needing a second card slot. Me personally, that's never been a big issue, but I understand that the debate about 1 or 2 card slots is still quite hot on the internet. Deal breaker number 3, there is, in fact, a smaller selection of lenses from most manufacturers for these cameras. In fact, at the time of recording this, there are only 2 crop sensor lenses for the Nikon Z50. Doesn't mean you can't use the full frame equivalents, but they're not made for it. So you're paying more money for features and capabilities that you're just not going to use. The number 4 deal breaker is, well, this was actually a positive, but it can also be a negative, as you will see with a couple items on this list, is the size. So if you have big jumbo hands, one of these tiny crop sensor cameras might not fit your hand all that great. And finally, number 5, well, just like the last one, this was also a positive, but that is the crop factor. So the crop factor can work for you by giving you more reach, might work against you by actually giving you too narrow of a field of view. So for instance, on my Z6 II right now, I'm shooting at a 14 millimeter focal length, which is super wide. That same focal length on my Nikon Z50 is going to be about 21 millimeters, which is substantially tighter. So while it can help you reach further, it can also make it more difficult to get everything in the shot, especially if you're in a tight space. I think I'm going to summarize it like this. What's more important to you, convenience or quality? Because on one hand, we have convenience, right? If a camera is more convenient for us to take, if it's smaller, if it's lighter, if it's easier to pack in our bags, are you more likely to take it with you to make photos and videos? And on the other hand, you have quality. Is wanting the best quality more important than taking your camera out to you? Or are you willing to lug around the extra weight of the full frame setup to get better results? That I'm gonna have to leave up to you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.